the education that myself and many others as taxpayers are buying. I didn't sign up to pay for this. And perhaps a few other people in here might feel the same way. So once again, some of you weren't on this school board. No one here was on this school board, it looks like, but there are some of you who have been here in the school district for quite a while. So if you weren't aware of this, then that concerns me. And if you are aware of it and this sort of thing is still going on, that really concerns me, because I would like to see that stop as a taxpayer and resident of this city and living in the school district. I'll just leave it at that. I think that's enough. So thank you for your time. And once again, like I said, to echo, this has been a hard year for a lot of folks. And thank you for hanging in there. And some of you have been subjected to some not so good stuff here recently by those involved in the recall election. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who do we have next?
Patricia?
Hello. I'm probably actually keep mine a little bit more short and simple as well. So, hello, my name is Patricia. We've got a 5-year-old who will be entering kindergarten this fall. We're super excited. We actually just moved to Woodland Park. Instead of teaching kids to see each other as different based on their skin color, kids should be taught that yes, we are all different, but we are unique. We are all necessary. We all have a heart and we all bleed red. We are all different. We are all unique. We are necessary. We all have families and lives that we have worked very hard to build, and we all have a heart and bleed red. Teachers in general should teach facts, not feelings, and keep their private and personal opinions out of classrooms. Growing up, I had wonderful teachers who inspired me to be who I am today. I actually went to a public school in a very, very large city all my life. And it wasn't until much later in my adult life that I learned about who they were dating, who they were married to, and I never once heard them badmouth a politician or talk about worldly events that we were just not old enough to understand. I have 2 quotes that I want to share from Mahatma Gandhi. An eye for an eye will only make the whole world blind. Second quote. Power is of 2 kinds. One is obtained by the fear of punishment, and the other by acts of love. Power based on love is 1,000 times more effective and permanent than the one derived from fear of punishment. This school board is coming from a place of love, and they do want the best for our children. If you know anyone that was tricked into signing this recall petition, or you yourself signed that recall, you can send an email to our Teller County Clerk, Crystal Brown. That email is brownk@co.teller.co.us. Once again, that email is brownk@co.teller.co.us. All you have to say is, my name is so-and-so, and I want to remove my name from the school board recall petition. Again, that email is brownk@co.teller.co.us. Please spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next item, which is the consent calendar. Consent calendar are agenda items that are typically routine matters that do not require discussion prior to approval. I will say, before I ask for a motion on this, that reviewing it, I do have a question and a concern about one of the names on here, but it is the unique nature of the consent calendar that it's done en bloc. So what I've had a discussion with the school board attorney and administration, and I'm just going to preview that I will be voting no on this. It's just due to one particular name. But I will trust that the school board attorney will work with our administration on what, if anything, and probably maybe nothing, that needs to be done in any sort of follow-up. So, but with that said, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda, the consent calendar. So do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you, Ms. Kimbrell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Kelly, can we have the vote, please?
Yes, Illingworth,
I'm sorry, no.
Kimbrell,
Aye.
Patterson,
No.
Rusterholz.
Yes.
Well, we have a split vote, so the motion does not carry. So,
Can we have discussion on this, on why there are no votes or yes votes?
Is this an executive session?
so because this deals with personnel who are hired or transferring and things like that, anything personnel related like that has to be done in an executive session. The trouble is that executive session has its own sort of special legal requirements to go to appropriate public notice and things like that. And so we have to be cautious about trying to rush into an executive session. It's the sort of thing where I would need to ask School Board Attorney Brad Miller to give some legal advice as to the appropriate next step.
Well, I have a concern because evidently you have information and those who voted no have information that was not made available to me. And so, without knowing what you guys know, I feel at quite a disadvantage and,
Well, and David, let's hear from Brad about whether.
Okay, hi,
all
Brad
right, Mr.
Miller.
Illingworth, how would you like to proceed on this then?
I would like to hear
Since you
from,
cannot, well, since you can't say what the issues are,
David, this is Brad Miller. Can I interject for just a moment?
yes, sir, please.
Thank you. Hi, Brad Miller. I'm an attorney for the district. So I think there's two pathways that we can consider. This is sort of a last minute issue, so I'm scrambling a bit, but I would first want to explain that the consent calendar in its totality is pretty essential to pass. And so this has to do with folks that are coming and going in terms of employment in the district, amongst other things. And so I'm going to ask the board to consider reviewing its vote and reconsidering and maybe trying again on the vote before we go any further with this, because it's pretty important. And I've noted David Illingworth's concern. It's I'm not saying it's not genuine or not viable, but his proposed route, as we've discussed, is actually not to not pass this, but to look into some things afterwards. So it's if I can put words in your mouth, I think you're not against individually this consent calendar passing. You just wanted to ensure that the appropriate steps were taken afterwards.
yes, thank you, Mr. Miller. That's correct. I'm not lobbying for this to not pass. I simply voted no with the statement I made to register my dissent on it, but I would like to see it pass overall, if that's fair to say.
Alternatively, in the event that that's not going to happen, you're at a regular board meeting. This is one that's established in your calendar as that one monthly meeting. I'm pretty sure I'm correct about that, correct? So in that case, you do have by law, the open meetings law would permit you to add action items, including an executive session in a meeting like this. That won't violate transparency. It's not optimal. Again, I'm not suggesting that that's the best course, but it is a possible course for you.
Okay, thank you. So hearing Mr. Miller on this. Yes, David?
Mr. Miller, is it possible to remove, can you hear me all right?
Yes,
We
sir.
can hear you.
Is it possible to remove one item from the consent calendar that is the problem that needs to be discussed in executive session and move on?
So when it comes to individual personnel, which is potentially what we're talking about here, that's really an awkward thing because then there's exposure of personnel issues. So I'd rather we not.
So we cannot just vote to remove letter C from the consent calendar and accept it other than that?
Well, that would then, I'm not looking at an agenda, but C presumably is a whole list of employee changes, and so I would say no. So to me, David, I think a reconsideration of the vote is our first step, and then if we don't get through that, then we can talk about moving to add an executive session.
David, do you have any objection to us doing the vote again?
No, I don't have any objection to revoting.
Okay, so why don't we try that first and see if we can move things along? So, ladies and gentlemen, can I have another motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, Kelly, thank you.
Illingworth.
I'll vote aye this time.
Kimbrell.
Aye.
Patterson.
Aye.
Rusterholz.
Aye.
Okay, so that motion carries. So now we can move on to the information items, and the first one is an update from Nate Owen, the president of the Woodland Park Education Association. Mr. Owen.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Good evening, interim superintendents. Thank you for being here tonight. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update about staff and our adventures over the summer. Maybe it's not quite all the adventures, but just to give you a quick update about how our staff has been. We've been busy this summer. We've been busy with resting and recuperating. We've also spent the time over the summer sharpening our toolbox. We've been sharpening and working on our teaching skills. I know that I personally have participated in several sessions, and I've met with and seen several staff in and out of the buildings working hard, working on their professional development to create a positive and empowering working environment for our students. Our students have been the center of our focus, and they are we're working so that way they can gain skills, so that way they can excel in society. There have been countless hours spent to build a highly reliable schools model. We've been working on updating our curriculums, and we have worked on creating high quality programs. I know that the beginning of the school year is one of the most exciting times of this school year, especially for myself. I love it when I watch the kindergartners walk up to the school for the first time with those oversized backpacks, like they're almost about to fall over. It's so exciting to watch. But on the other end of the spectrum, we also have our seniors that are about to walk into the high school for their first day of school. That is exciting to me. I know that there's going to be many memories made this year between all the staff and the students. I know that we are going to work the hardest that we can to make sure that our students are getting what they need. We are excited to begin this work of growing our students better together. So thank you for your time, and I just wanted to give you the update on our summer. So thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Owen? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I think we are fine to go on to the next one, which is an update from Dr. Gwen Pekron, the Merit Academy Chief Action Officer. So, Dr. Pekron.
Thank you for having me here tonight. It does feel a bit odd to be on this side of the fence when you have a start of school. So, but I will tell you that just as Mr. Owens had mentioned, and I'm sure you will hear throughout the evening, this is a very exciting and yet completely exhausting time of year for educators and education. It is no different for Merit and for our neighbors at WPMS. We have seen all kinds of activity. I've heard, I live not too far away, and I've heard the bullhorns for the 6th graders going jumpstart, so it's there, it's full blown. So I will give you a little update for Merit as well. We are new, so I'm sure there's a lot of curiosity as to what our summer looks like. And as I mentioned, it's very similar to what the other 5 schools are experiencing. We have moved in, so we completely appreciate the space that we are working in right now. It's a blessing, and the joy that our families and our staff have in that space and just being able to be together is incredible. You can see it when you walk in. We had our registration on Monday, and it was enlightening, it was invigorating, it was energetic, and it gives you goosebumps to see the families coming back and knowing what they have to look forward to. We have an incredible staff, and you have an incredible staff who have made that happen. The facilities team has worked overtime 10 times over. Miles has been, and Tina and Dell have been so gracious with their time in answering our questions and making sure that we are collaborating to make sure that this is a successful start for us all under one umbrella now that we are in a home district, and we love it. So again, a lot of movement, and we're really looking forward to continuing that relationship. We did have registration, as I mentioned, on Monday. We are in the midst of switching over to Infinite Campus, so we don't have everything in place. We can't give you a solid number. We actually have to input every student by hand in their schedule. So hopefully in the next week or so, we'll be able to see what our numbers look like. And when we provide an update to you publicly, we'll be able to give you a more substantial effort as to what our enrollment looks like. But Belle and Tina and Miles will be updated as we know, as they come in. Let's see. We have some new things going on, obviously, besides the very obvious 500 East Kelly's Road. We have kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 9th now in our school. We've hired new staff for all of those positions. Our freshmen are excited. Some of them don't always like being the pioneer, but they like the idea that they get to set new legends, new traditions, fight songs, all of that. So it's really neat to see them come in and look at the schedule and see what opportunities they have. So that leads us to our expanding curriculum and our enhancements. We are offering our concurrent enrollment. We have several freshmen who have qualified, so we will be offering English. It's now 1021, and then math 1034. English is a composition, and we will work on literature as well. And then with our math, it's college algebra. And so that will be this year for the concurrent enrollment focus. And then we also are incorporating percussion, intro to band, aeronautics and aviation courses. We're expanding theater and performing arts. We have our CAP cadets, our Civil Air Patrol, feverishly working over the summer, and many of them have logged in their first couple of hours in flight. And they've flown over the Royal Gorge, and they've flown over Colorado Springs, so their pictures have been pretty captivating, except one of our cadets said that whomever it was that was in the plane with him threw up. So, great first ride, right up there. Again, we mentioned early colleges, and we have our Latin teacher on board, so we're able to build our Latin program pretty strongly this year. Our faculty is also engaging in professional development and really honing in on the curriculum that we've chosen, and that's our core knowledge and our Singapore math. Those are our 2 foundational pieces. Core knowledge is English, science, and history, and math, of course, is Singapore until you hit that, what we call School of Logic, or that middle school age, and then you're getting into your typical algebra, geometry, pre-algebra type of things. And so they have the core knowledge and the Singapore math professional development coming up. So hit the ground running for sure. Thank you, first of all, for offering to us the physical night. Several of us went. I went with my daughter, who's a swimmer, and it was really neat to see the number of students who were there and to just envision the sports programs here in this district expand. And so we were there as well, and it was welcoming and it was nice. So we appreciate that. I'm looking forward to swimming. It will be very different. Somebody told me you need to go to physical night, and I said, why? And they said, because your daughter's a freshman and she'll be swimming. And I said, oh my gosh, that is true. So we showed up. I was probably more nervous than she was, but it's part of the growing pains with your oldest. After school clubs that we are working on, we have 6 or 7 little first graders last year that actually started their own cheer squad. And on recess, they made cheers and cheered for every teacher that they could and just made up their own cheers. So this year we have sponsorship, just a coach. And we're going to try to pull that together in a more formed manner, which I think will be pretty darling, but they're actually quite competitive. So who knows where that will go. Could lead here. And chess club, athletics, rugby. We have a 1976 Olympian who was on the shooting team, and he's helping us start our shooting team. And we'll do some competitions, some matches in the springs as well when they're ready to do that. And I think that's it in a nutshell for us. We do have facility updates, but I'm pretty sure Miles is going to cover those. And so I think I blew through that one. Any questions for me?
Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Pepperell? David, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Mrs. Pepron, can you tell me how has the move-in process gone and the facility?
So I know Miles will talk about the facilities. The teams on WPSD side and for Merit have been working together incessantly, it seems. And so the move has been very seamless for us. It's been a very nice transition. We had our parents come help, and we have pretty much every room outfitted now. And now the teachers look at all their boxes and go, oh my gosh, I have 30 years of stuff to do. And setting up their rooms. And so I think our transition has gone pretty smoothly, and it's been a very positive experience.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
I have a couple, and I'll concede that they just popped into my head while you were talking. When is Merit Academy's first day of school?
August 24th.
Okay, and so the middle school's first day, I think with all of our schools, is August 22nd. Okay, and then what did you guys end up working out in terms of start times and drop-offs and stuff?
Great question. So we basically pushed our day back later 5 minutes, and we added 5 minutes to our day. So we start at 7:55, and the middle school starts at 8:15, and we end at 3:25, and the middle school ends at 3:15. Is that right? 3:10.
Those look close. I don't have them memorized.
I don't have memorized.
It's somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's something else.
But I just remember that the last bus will be leaving at 3:25.
Yes.
So that was the
That is
important
true.
piece that we needed to remember. So our drop off, we are sharing that front parking lot. We will be pulling over the Merit families to the bike rack. We start earlier, so we don't presume there's going to be much of an issue. And then pickup, we are going to be in that bus loop. And so as soon as the buses are gone, that's when our families will come forward, and they've been informed that the buses are there until 3:25, and they're buses, they're not budging. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to get there early and suck up some exhaust while you're waiting for students. So that's the plan.
Okay.
I know that Yvonne Goings and Luke Myers, principal of the secondary school, or I forget his title,
Yeah.
have been meeting. So they've met to talk about what does that look like logistically, and they've talked about a lot of things, just about how they even have all their fire drills already scheduled for the year. So that team's been meeting and coordinating. And I know Bill, we didn't introduce him, but Bill Phelan back there is our new middle school assistant principal. So
Okay.
he's been in with them also. So they've already been coordinating things together.
Great. So I had 2 other things. So the Civil Air Patrol cap.
Yes.
I'm just going to ask if next time there's an update from Merit, that's something I would really love to hear more about. I didn't know they were actually going in airplanes and stuff. So I know I'm not going to put you guys on the spot, and I bet it sounds like that could be a presentation with photographs and stuff.
Absolutely.
So I'll just ask to, next time you have a chance, you could work on something to let us all know about that program.
Bring them in.
And because I don't think we have any sort of military-related programs currently in the school district. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. Okay. And I know this sounds somewhat military, so
It's like a civilian branch of the Air Force. And they run most of the search and rescue missions in the country. So it is actually very, very cool stuff.
okay. Well, as a former Air Force officer, I look forward to hearing more about it. The last thing I had, because I know somebody has asked me about this recently, sports. So is Merritt doing its own sports teams? Are the Merritt kids on middle school teams or what?
Not yet. We are looking. We have rugby, for instance. The district doesn't have rugby. We have a lot of kids who are interested in rugby. My daughter is going to swim. She's going to swim at the high school on their team. And I talked to Mr. Cosner the other day regarding swimming, and the joint concept is that sports are a bubble, and it's a great way to welcome the entire community together. And so there's that need for collaboration and that need for my neighbor kid and your neighbor kid to get together and play football together because they've always done it. And so that's the ultimate conversation right now is working on that. And as we grow and we see what the needs are for the district and the needs are for Merritt, those discussions will always be in place. What's the best thing for the community?
As always, we had middle school kids last year that played on from Merritt that played on the middle school team.
Right.
So that is open, and now that there are ninth graders, they're invited to participate on any of the Woodland Park sports teams. I know that was one of the topics that Yvonne and Luke talked about too, was how to publish the middle school sports and how to run eligibility, and even like an early release that the kids would get out 5 minutes earlier so they could walk over to the locker room and be there for sports practice. So they've already been coordinating with the fall sports.
Okay, any other questions based on that? Are you good, David? All right, hearing no
I'm
objection.
good, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn, for your
Okay,
update from
thank
Merritt.
you.
Thanks, Glenn.
So next we have a summer facilities projects update by Executive Director of Technology and Operations, Miles Tuttle.
Do I need to unlock my computer, or are you good?
I don't know, see. No, it's good. Here to be dazzled with fun transitions, things like that. This is, the board asked for an update on a lot of the projects we're doing. We're specific to updates on a lot of the Merritt co-location projects. I also included some of the other district-wide projects that we're doing, and some other projects related to individual schools. So I'm going to run you through some of those things. So summer maintenance, in addition to projects, there's a lot of regular summer maintenance that happened. All of our hard flooring, like VCT and wood floors, are in common areas in classrooms. They're stripped and waxed. Classrooms, pretty much every classroom furniture is moved for deep cleaning, or in the case of the middle school, carpet was replaced altogether. There's repainting, shampooing, and then moving furniture back into classrooms. That's done with hallway carpeting as well. Sorry, I see a typo there. It's clean all windows building wide. Repaint, we've repainted hallways as needed. Completed all teacher classroom moves because they're every year. I was one of those teachers that had a new classroom every year. And so moved down the hall, there are a lot of those that happen. And so custodians are working on that. Our maintenance staff completes all those work orders that have been submitted that we kind of have to push off until summer break because it might be, it'd be pretty disruptive otherwise. And then there's a whole lot of groundwork around the school building that we're working on. So that's in addition to any established projects that we have for this summer. We also have a lot of grounds maintenance to do. A lot of that's covered by snow for half the year. And so once once it's warm and this summer with all the rain, it actually means there's a whole lot more grounds maintenance to be done, a whole lot more mowing, taking care of weeds, seeding, fertilizing, replacing turf so that we're ready for fall sports. And so we're working on all that this summer as well. Again, all in addition to projects. Now here is a highlight of some of the summer projects that we've been working on. These are some that, for the most part, aren't related to the Merritt Academy Woodland Park Middle School co-location stuff. High school hallway and library carpet is supposed to be, for the most part, finished this week. Middle school carpet is complete. I think that was 47 rooms in the middle school got new carpet over the summer, and that's pretty much done. We did a walkthrough yesterday and made sure that everything was all set. We're just doing some finishing touches on that. Columbine office carpet, we're getting replaced here, and let's see, Summit interior paint and some other interior work projects in the Summit office are mostly, I think they're mostly complete. Columbine playground was ordered a long time ago, and the installation should be end of September, early October. You might notice all our drives and parking lots are seal coated. Cracks have been filled, curbs and lines have been painted. That's all done. Middle school band room, the big project hanging out that needs to be finished for that is cabinetry. So we have to custom order cabinetry, and that's in production right now. And so we're looking at the end of next month to have that installed. LED signs at Gateway, Summit, and Columbine. The Gateway and Columbine ones are installed and should be powered on. We had to run power and conduit, should be powered on by the end of the week, this week, so that we can light those. The Summit one is supposed to be installed by the end of the month, but the conduit's already laid and power's already ready for that. Middle school got a nice new commons floor as well, and that's complete. So if you make your way to the middle school, you're gonna see a whole lot of new flooring everywhere. That's on the Woodland Park Middle School part of the building, and all of the Merritt Academy classrooms got new carpet as well. Then there's this whole other world of co-location projects for the middle school and Merritt Academy. Crash doors will be framed before the start of school. Should have some temporary doors for those crash doors. There are 2 hallways that have crash doors. We'll have temporary doors there that'll be up to fire code. Our framer is working with our door installer to make sure that all works. So that should be all set. The computer lab / STEAM lab relocation project is a big one. Walls are up, glass should be up at the end of this week. There's a whole lot that has to go in as far as running electrical work, and so that's in progress right now as well. We might start the year with it being sort of we have some temporary tables because again, the ones that we need are in production and are still a number of weeks out. So it might be a Chromebook lab for a little while, and then we'll get desktop computers reinstalled there. Short and long-term furniture storage is something that we're having to deal with consolidating some rooms in the middle school, but also allowing Merritt Academy access to the unused furniture. So right now, Merritt Academy is being gracious in allowing some furniture storage in the auxiliary gym, and they're able to go through that furniture right now. It's a lot of desks, and find what they need. Anything that's left over. The plan is to store that temporarily offsite, and then move on with auctioning some of it off that we know won't be used. We've had to take one school PA system and segment it out to 2 separate systems. It's a pretty involved process. It's a lot of crawling up in the ceiling and running new cable and things like that. It's not a matter of just installing a few new boxes and switches. They've worked on that last week for the most part to have that finished. In Woodland Park Middle School, some of our specialized special education programs, our AN room, our effective needs room, needed some specialized spaces that involve framing and doors and things like that. That's complete. Same with the SSN room. Card access on the safety and security side has been segmented out all together. So Merit Academy has their own cards and readers and all of that allows access to that side of the school. And it's segmented out, and Woodland Park Middle School has their own system, and internal locks have been and external doors have been completely rekeyed, so they're two separate systems with still master keys so that we can access it for things like maintenance, technology issues, emergencies, things like that. We also this week installed, so if you've been to the front entrance of the schools, so you have to buzz in, there's a little camera, and whoever's on the other side has a little screen. They can talk to you, they can buzz you in or not buzz you in. And they one of those was installed for the Merit Academy side, just to allow for some consistency with that security feature. We're not done. There's more. Construction for Woodland Park Middle School relocated their staff lounge. There was a lot that had to go into that. That was one thing that looked like one simple project, and then there were a lot of projects stacked onto it. We had to move one of those tech closets that holds a lot of our cabling, a lot of our network cabling. We had to relocate that, put another little room in, things like that. That's done. We've relocated our recycling program. That's complete. We're consolidating PE classes into one gym, and so we have a retractable gym curtain that will be installed. It's one of those motorized ones that will split the gym into two spaces. That will be installed by the 18th. Same with gym fixtures, moved into the Woodland Park Middle School gym. It's the same contractor to do that because they're licensed for all those sorts of things. We're in the process of signage on the Merit Academy side with their entrances. They've submitted proofs for what they would like for entrances. And then we're working on signage on the middle school side as well to make sure that entrances are clear. And if somebody comes to the wrong entrance, they're kindly directed to the correct entrance. Because nobody knows the difference between 600 East Kelly's Road and 500 East Kelly's Road and to walk up to the building. So there have been some permanent walls built, framed, drywalled, painted. Those are all done for both schools. This one actually might be finished now for the most part, relocating some cameras that were installed specifically for our AN and SSN rooms, and all classroom furniture and equipment moves for the middle school are pretty much complete. So this isn't an exhaustive list of the projects. These are the biggies, and we expect some to come up again once school starts too. There'll be some things that we didn't know we needed to do until we knew we needed to do them. So. Moving forward with projects, we're still continuing our STEAM build out at the middle school and rolling some things down to the elementary school and with some elementary robotics that we're building in. Still moving ahead with site and facility improvements district-wide. So we'll soon begin calendaring some of those, some over breaks, and in fact getting some on the calendar for next summer. And with that, we have our long-term repair and upgrade prioritizations that we put together looking 10 years out as far as site improvements. Just a taste of some of those priorities that we have coming up. We have concrete work and more carpet. It's a lot of deferred maintenance that we've been doing with new curb and gutter stuff. We have a whole lot of just site and building things that we'd like to work on. Some softball field improvements for the high school and middle school, and then looking at some continuing to bolster our fleet vehicles. Last year, we got 2 minibuses, and we're looking at adding additional vehicles as we retire some of our vehicles that some of them have 300,000 plus miles on them. And then some HVAC work that we're doing on water heaters and HVAC controls as we try and put those all on one system. And then fencing, not just at the middle school, but there've been a lot of deferred maintenance projects that we're going to be working on for the next year. Questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Tuttle?
Yes, I do. Miles, I'm just curious about, I know parents at the beginning of the middle school and merit blending or using the same facility, there were some parents that were very concerned about construction taking place during the school day. Would you be able to address that for me, please?
Yeah, at this point, most of the major construction projects that involve like framing and drywalling and things like that are done. The only one that's kind of outstanding is are those fire doors that separate the 2 schools. And so any sort of construction that'll happen on for that after the 22nd of this month, we'll make sure it doesn't impact school. So that would be making sure that it's happening during times that aren't impactful. So it might be late afternoons and evenings, weekends, things like that. So, and with all of our contractors that come in, I mean, they enter the building just like anybody else would, going through our security vestibule and checking in with front office staff. They do an ID check with the Raptor system as well, and we only use contractors that we vetted as well. So even anybody that might be there during the day, and that happens every year. We might have an HVAC contractor that has to come during the day to work on something. We make sure that anybody entering the building is cleared to do so. So there will be some projects that'll be happening during the school year, but we'll be certain that they don't impact learning at Woodland Park Middle School or Merit Academy.
Okay, I have a couple other questions I wanted to ask you. Is the middle school, is it ready for our kids? Is it going to be the same great place to learn? Are they going to have their classes and everything is ready? I just want, if you would, speak to the parents to address concerns about that, if you would, please, because there are people online, there's people who are going to be listening. So if you could address parents for that, please.
And so that question kind of speaks to it's kind of a bigger question that encompasses some of the things that Gwen mentioned a little while ago. There's the logistics side to the school, to school starting, and all those things are well underway and in place. And it doesn't mean that there won't be things that we'll need to adapt to and change once students are actually in the building and classes are in session. So the status on that is that we're well prepared. The building leaders at both schools have worked really well to make sure that school starts well, that students are ready to learn, and teachers are in a good place to teach well. You could say on the facilities side of things, I think we're in a good place as well. I mentioned some of those projects that are still in progress. It looks like most of those will be finished before the start of school. The ones that won't be will not impact either school's ability to have students come in ready to learn, and then students and teachers ready to teach. I think we're in a very good place as far as most projects wrapping up where they need to be. The big one that's kind of hanging out there is that STEAM room and computer lab that's attached. That's just a really big project, and it's a new program as well. So regardless of whether there was this co-location happening. If we were working on that, we might be behind schedule just as we are now with, because of some materials and fabrication issues as far as like supply chain things go. But as far as the buildings being ready, I think they'll be quite ready by the time students walk in.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question that I have, and you need to use your discretion on how to answer this, because we all know that security is so vital in schools these days. Could you address just concern parents about, since we've brought in another school, we've done all of this construction, we have the Raptor system in place, which is a fabulous system that I'm so glad that we have that at our schools. Can you address in an appropriate way that doesn't disclose things that shouldn't be, the current status of our security at the schools?
Yeah, so security.
At the middle school.
Sure. Yeah, so security protocols and security systems that are in place, many of those aren't dependent on who's occupying the building. So we have a lot of those things that are in place regardless of what the layout of the building looks like, whether there's one school or two schools in the building. So a lot of those things are still in place. I mean, to mention just a couple of them, that'd be security cameras. You mentioned the Raptor system and badged entry that only allows access to certain badged entry points, secure keying of physical locks that happens either way. I mean, we've made sure that it works so that two schools can occupy the same building, but all of those security protocols we have in place don't go away. And as was mentioned earlier, we have these drills that are still that have already been coordinated for the year. So those things are in place as well. SROs are on site at the middle school and the high school, and some at elementary, and float between other schools as well. That doesn't stop. And the Woodland Park police officers' duty to protect students doesn't end at fire doors that separate the two schools. So yeah, there's everything that needs to be in place is in place that we've had other schools before. There can always be improvements as far as like hardening sites and looking at what we could do better. But that isn't something that's specific to everything that's gone on with the middle school merit co-location project. So there's a whole lot in place. We have district security officers as well, and so again, those are folks that strive to take care of all children regardless of what school they may be attending. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, and yes, it does, Miles. Thank you very much. The last thing that I would like to say is, since I have been a director and learning about the people who work at Woodland Park School District, I continue to be absolutely impressed with the work and quality of work and the dedication that you have and our staff have with the amount of work that had to be done to make this happen and the sacrifices that you personally have made. I want to acknowledge that, and I want to thank you and all the people who were involved in making this happen. If I were there, I would stand up and applaud you. You have done an amazing job. Thank you very much. Thank you for our kids, for our parents. I cannot express my thanks enough. Great job, amazing job. Thank you, Miles.
Thanks, David. And that's a big team that I need to pass that thanks along to. There are a whole lot of folks that have worked really, really hard, maybe harder than any other summer, to make sure that all happens. So that thanks gets passed around to a whole lot of people.
Well, and I join in President Ruster-Holtz in thanking you for you and your team's efforts and accomplishments. I'm quite frankly, I guess, surprised to see how much is marked as complete already. I do. I know, when we were going into the summer, it was a big task, and every now and then you had a little bit of a worried look on your face, but I think you should be proud of what's been accomplished. We as a school board are proud of what's been accomplished and the team. And, we're starting a new year. It's an exciting thing. We look forward to it being our best year ever. So I do have a couple follow-up questions for you, but something I want to say, I think this goes more generally to the board based on Mr. Russell-Holtz's line of questioning about security. It's something I've mentioned publicly, I think in 2 previous meetings, but it's not really within my power to do much about it. I know that Mr. Russell-Holtz is in charge of setting our agendas, but what I would ask, because it's really going to be a team thing, is if the administration and Mr. Russell-Holtz could work together to invite our local law enforcement like Chief Dessler and Sheriff Meisel, along with our new security director, Mr. Terry. I would love to have a briefing from them, get their opinion, get their input on what, if anything, they think we should consider to improve security, improve safety, improve the well-being of our students and staff. I just think that would be a wonderful subject of a meeting in the future, hopefully the near future. But, everybody's busy. We'd have to invite them. And I think that does fall to our co-interim superintendents to see if that's something that could even be done. And of course, you'd have to work with Mr. Russell-Holtz about, when we could schedule something like that. So I'm just floating that out there in my hopes that it's something that the board president, as well as our local law enforcement and our administration, would be interested in coming together on. But I'm not going to presume to know how easy that really would be to pull off. But I think it would be a great discussion and great subject to consider. So I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I think you'd be happy to know that, and maybe you knew this, I don't know, that we just happened to have a meeting with Michael Terry earlier, right before the board meeting, to discuss those very topics.
No, I didn't.
No.
So I don't know if you were like spying on us or that. I'm not sure what was happening there, but we did have a conversation, and we agreed that those conversations and those collaborations do need to take place. And we started some processes and some conversations about how we can make that look.
Well, I in my small way encourage that.
And additionally, we also have talked with Brad Miller about how that's done, because a lot of our safety and security is kind of tactical, confidential. So we did talk about the fact that that can be done in an executive session
Yeah.
because it's due to security.
Yeah, some of it would.
We already got advice from him that that is a meeting we can hold
Yeah.
so that we can go into more detail.
Right. Some of it you want to do in executive, and some I would think you'd want to do public so that everybody, right, that they have an understanding and they can have confidence. And of course, if our public has suggestions or concerns, that they'd be able to bring those to our attention. So thank you.
Miles is standing there, and I just want to ask him a few questions. So I'm going to get us back on track. Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right, Miles, thank you so much again. David have both, president and vice president, both shared in the gratitude. And I, for one, I know when you came up and you had the whole list of things that you're going to be doing, I didn't expect this to be very completed. So thank you so much. It's wow to see. I'm sure you're just, excited to see that and going forward for the school. Can you share with the parents how the STEAM and robotics room is going to look, or some things you're excited about, or what we're going to be looking forward to?
Sure. Yeah. So it's a team. So STEAM, well, the A in STEAM is arts. So it's a team that are library media specialists and our computer instructor, as well as our art teacher, that are pulling together the STEAM program that rolls in all of those things into projects. And so they'll have things like a lot of it's project-based learning, but they'll be looking at some kind of introduction to engineering things. They'll have be able to, through some grants, purchase some 3D printers. So there'll be a lot with that as well. And they've rolled out, I think they've kind of submitted like a 5-year plan on what they would like it to look like. And the goal is for it to align with roll right into high school engineering, robotics, and STEAM related things as well. So they have a lot of it's like the STEM and STEAM and a kit they'll be working on. They'll be looking at programming, they'll be looking at, like I said, some engineering concepts as well. But the way STEAM works is it's, when it's done well, it's integrated with content area stuff too. So they'll be pulling in as much grade level content as they can. So we'll kind of have a lab section that's attached to our STEAM lab as well. That's a much more like flexible space. So tables that can be moved around, students be working on projects maybe related to robotics or 3D printing or some other engineering skill. And that room is actually attached to the art room as well. So it'll be a pretty fluid movement between all of those. The STEAM lab will also have the Panther News Network in there as well. This new STEAM lab has a green room so they can work on that. Yearbook will be part of that space. The STEAM lab and the computer lab space. There's a lot of shared space for a whole lot of projects as they kind of build all that stuff out. So.
Well, no, thank you so much. That sounds exciting. I know 3D printers are fun for the staff and the students. So, and also the band room. So we are going to be able to teach starting school in the band room.
Yes, but there won't be cabinets. So yeah, so so in the meantime, we've gotten carpet. We finally got ceiling tiles and acoustic treatments. Those are some of the big things that we were waiting on. We'll be actually moving into that space though for band, and then we'll be and then in the meantime we'll be putting in cabinets that will finally be fabricated. So we're on like the 5-yard line right now for having that totally complete. That's something, and it started in October.
Yeah.
And it's been the longest, surprisingly, the longest project out of all of these, even though it was pretty straightforward and had the longest timeline too. So we're almost there. Just yesterday they finished putting up some of the acoustic treatments as far as the ceiling tiles, and so they're going to keep working at it. Got carpet in 2 weeks ago in the band room, so we're waiting on cabinets. But in the meantime, space is ready to use, just in a almost finished state once school starts.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. I know everyone will be excited about that as well as the students. So that's all the questions I have. Miles?
I did have some more.
Sorry.
You stole my band room question, but I wanted to ask about the Columbine playground. What's going on there?
Yeah, so that was, we put out an RFP in the spring, awarded a contractor and chose a contractor that could install, looks like end of September, beginning of October. That was by far the shortest timeline as well. We're looking at February or March for that. That's still on track for now. So that's something that will be installed while school is in session, but of course will be done so that it doesn't impact school operations. But that's just, that's no real changes on that. I think last I spoke, we were looking at September, October, and we're still on that timeline. So right now they're fabricating equipment. As soon as it's delivered, the contractor's ready to install it.
So is the old playground still there?
It's there. So it's still there. So it'll stay there until the new equipment is ready. And so it's all one process. They demo the old equipment, put in new equipment, make sure the fill is all good as far as wood or rubber chips. Install it all. It's all certified, and then it's all kind of one big project. They do it all at once.
Any idea how long the kids wouldn't be able to use the playground?
No, I mean it'd be measured in days. I'm not sure what their actual timetable is. From what I understand, it's a pretty quick process. This is a process that's new to me. I haven't gone through the demo and construction of it's a pretty good sized playground as well, as far as number of equipment pieces and things like that. But it's but these contractors, this is what they do. They do start to finish, demo to new install. So it should be just a number of days.
Awesome. Thank you, Miles. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have any other questions before we release Miles?
Miles, I can't say thank you enough, and everyone else has voiced their appreciation, but I would like to steal Ruster Holt's thunder and give you an applause.
All right. Thank you, sir. So next on the agenda is the 2022 to 23 Woodland Park High School courses. Presentation by Curriculum and Assessment Supervisor, Ms. Karen Hamlow.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Since I'm a new face to the microphone, I thought I'd just take a second and introduce myself. I do have 4 teenagers, 3 of them at the high school, 1 just graduated, so my fridge is always empty. And no matter how many times I go to the grocery store. And I've been at the high school for 7 years, and this year will be partially seconded to the district to help with Dal and Gina and their new roles. And so I'll get to work with the middle school in my current role. I'll be able to do some of that with the middle school as well. So I'm really excited about that. So we have some new courses, and Miles, would you be willing to hand out, some people might not have picked one up when they walked in the door. The board has them.
We have them.
Yeah, I have one, but
I'm going to refer to a handout. It's called High School Course Changes for 22-23. So, there are a couple, just a little background. There are 4 real filters that we use as we're trying to decide what courses to include in our high school and what courses to remove. The first one is student interest. That's important, of course, because students are at the heart of our actions, and we're always trying to figure out what students really want. To give a great example of that, our sports medicine work-based learning class that we're going to be adding this year, students are taking a sports medicine class, and then they want the practical application. So we actually have Melissa Yar, thank you, who's going to be working with our students in a hands-on sports medicine context. So our students will actually go out and be able to help tape an ankle from the field or be able to do various things to help Melissa in her process. So they get some real work-based experience. The second reason is teacher analysis of student performance. A great example of that is our AP Physics C classes that we're adding. And to be honest, Mr. Owen has been teaching them on his plan time to 1 or 2 kids over the last couple of years. And now the interest has grown and they want more. The numbers have increased. And so enough to make a section out of it. And so he has graciously agreed to do that. Number 3, the shifting landscape of career regional data and college readiness. This is an ever-changing mark as technology and our world around us changes so fast. The new jobs that are out there were not there a couple of years ago, and things just keep moving faster and faster. We know we're in our 4th industrial revolution, and here we go. Like, hold on, things are going to go fast. And so we need to have a responsive course guide that helps prepare students for their futures. The last one is teacher certification. A great example, actually not a great example. We have been working really hard to hire a culinary arts teacher, and we have not been able to do so in spite of nationwide search, and they're just not out there. And in fact, I think one of the universities just graduated 2, and the state of Colorado needed 20. And so it's a really tough position to fill. So we're not able to offer that course first semester. However, we did hire a teacher for 2nd semester. She just needs time to get here. She lives in the South. So we just can't offer it if we don't have the person there. Also, we have 4 teachers that are going through their master's program, one that just is graduating like next week. And she'll be able to teach college level classes. Mr. Owen is in his master's program to be able to teach math classes, and we have 2 more that are online for social studies and science that'll be next year's course description guide changes. So exciting reasons. We have a couple of course name changes. Those are not super noteworthy other than to include the project Lead the Way, and that's what Mr. Tuttle was talking about from the middle school, getting students ready for the intern engineering class at the high school. So the STEAM lab will be helping prepare students so that they don't lose that connection between middle school and high school, and hopefully to build interest in that program because it is nationally recognized. It's also available for UCCS credit, and it's a wonderful program. And so we're excited to include that name, the PLTW, on our transcript. The explorations of industrial technology, that's just kids, they call it woods and metals. And so we decided to include that in the title so that everybody's talking about the same thing. And the last one, we recognize with Shakespeare that, some students want to read more than just Shakespeare and want to experience other plays. And so we have a little mix. And so this course name change allows us to bring other plays into that class. A couple of course removals. We have show choir. We started this a couple of years ago, and what we realized is we killed our men's program because our boys don't have a chance to sing together in a non-embarrassing kind of environment and to build their voices. And so we're reactivating that again so that our madrigals has a future. AP Statistics is now Pikes Peak State College. Their MAT 1260 college statistics class. So there's just a little bit of a change there. We're recognizing that the students want the college credit, and quite frankly, the AP stats exam is always during graduation week. And so they have to miss, in order to take the AP exam, they have to miss the Elogist trip or the tea and capping events or other things that they're doing with their friends. They don't want to. And in the last couple of years, we've only had 3 or 4 that have taken the AP exam, and when we have a class of 20. And so this college class allows them to get college credit. Also, as a bonus, it transfers to many universities in the state, including School of Mines. And so that was a big bonus for us, depending on the program, I should say that. Our AP, let's see, we're also getting rid of abnormal psychology as we recognize our standards. We teach the same standards in our AP psychology class and criminology class. And so it was a redundant class. We're removing 3 AP online classes. And the reason for that is the College Board, which is the mother of AP exams, they change their standards and expectations every 5 to 6 years. And the online courses don't match what the students are expected to have in their knowledge base for the AP exam. And several students that have taken them either have not finished the AP online classes or they've scored a 1 or 2 on the exam, which is not considered a passing grade. And so we're just not seeing success with our online classes. Whereas in our in-person classes, we have quite a few students that are scoring 3s and above. And so it's just time to move on from that this time. The last 2, online anthropology and online philosophy, they were very low-level classes. As we looked at the rigor, they required pretty much Google answers from students, very little critical thinking, and we decided we don't want to offer those for credits. We feel they're worthy. So the new courses. So I heard some talk about transparency. Something that might not be known by all of you, we have a course description guide on our website. This has been here for many years, and it lists all of the courses that we offer. It's 160 pages, so I did not print that thing out today. And I will also say it is ever changing. As we add new courses, take things away, we recognize a different standard needs to come in, a different policy, we are updating. We work with UCCS, Pikes Peak State College, the College Board classes, Metro State University, and so they all change their policies and requirements every year. And we, of course, have to adjust to what they want. For instance, our statistics class this year, you need a 500 in the math section to enroll in the class. That might change next year, as it always does. So we need to be able to be flexible. So if you're not familiar with Google Docs, this is a great one. There's a beautiful feature over here on the left-hand side, that allows you to just click it and it opens an entire menu. All of these are hyperlinks, and so you can just jump back and forth as you're searching for what classes your students want to take. The graduation guidelines are listed there. And so, here we go. Sorry, it's backwards. There we go. So students and parents, as they sit down to plan their schedule for the year, can decide, do I need to take an English this year? Do I need to take 2 English classes? And those kinds of details to make sure they meet their graduation requirements. So let's jump to one of the new classes, Project Lead the Way Cybersecurity. So over here on the menu, you'll notice the English classes, all are listed there. We do have 425 classes that we offer. And so it's a very comprehensive curriculum. We have something for everyone all over the place in here. 140 of those are online classes. And that does include things like advisory and semester-long classes and a first and second semester class because they're different standards and different grades that students receive. It's a lot to keep up with, but they're all listed here. let me just take a shortcut here. A handy feature is the search. So it jumps to the table of contents, Project Lead the Way Cybersecurity, it's a brand new class. The state of Colorado has tons of cybersecurity jobs that are coming. And in fact, they cannot fill all the seats that are needed. And this is a big deal. Students can walk away from high school with the credentials. They can get their A+ credential with us, and they can like literally get a $60,000 job right out the door at high school if they choose to take this class and the next class beyond that gives them more. This is a UCCS class. And so all of this information here explains what students are going to be learning. And then it clicks that you'll even have hyperlinks in there that will click out to the website that shows you the detailed descriptions from Project Lead the Way specific. Feel free to jump in if you have a question about a specific class. I'm not going to go through all of them because we'll be here a really long time. But I do want to highlight a couple kind of new and exciting ones for you.
Hey, Karen, can you go back up and highlight what is listed on so every class has the same format?
Yes.
Can you walk through those,
Oh, absolutely.
those pieces of the course?
Thank you. Yep. So the grade level, this is what students can take. Now we do sometimes allow like a 9th grader, for instance, to take this class if he comes in with prior knowledge, but that's a special circumstance. But for the most part, it's only for sophomores through seniors. They get 0.5 credits per semester. It's a year-long course, and it counts as a technical art credit. And so this is that planner that parents can figure out exactly what classes they want for their student to take. There's prerequisites in there. In this case, we really need them to have integrated Math 1 to be able to function well in the class. They do not need teacher approval, and there are no fees. However, if they want to transcript with UCCS, it's $102, and this is a dual enrollment class. Lots of technical little terms there, but this is a choice. I will say my son did not take the cybersecurity class, but he took the other 2 Project Lead the Way classes and already, has 7 credits from UCCS just from those 2. And it's a pretty sweet deal. Okay. Down here, NCAA, this is for our athletes specifically if they are going to certain schools that require the when they look at their transcript, if they transfer to colleges, colleges will actually look at their transcript and decide if the classes are rigorous enough. And so we go through a clearinghouse. We submit all of our syllabus materials to them, and they approve us or not, or ask us for more information. So sometimes we even have to get down to the detailed granular level and submit lesson plans, essentially. So that's important for athletes. And then if it's repeatable or not. Thank you for reminding me of that. Financial literacy. It's a new class this year. Those of you familiar with, it's the Dave Ramsey full Foundations of Personal Finance for our students. And this is an example of us making lemonade out of lemons. We could not hire a culinary teacher, and so we were able to hire a social studies teacher, and she's able to teach this financial literacy class. And so those students that are not enrolled in culinary first semester have the option of going into financial literacy. Oops. Oh, I've got a lot of financial, excuse me. Definitely a hot topic here. There it is. So it's just a semester-long class. Those of you familiar with Dave Ramsey, this is his full course. We counted it as an elective credit because it's really conceptual. Where our personal finance class is very math-based, and so students are using spreadsheets and they're manipulating numbers all the time. This is much more conceptual in nature, and so really it's an elective credit. Let's see, we did have a lot of interest in the financial investing and things like that, so we have 3 online classes. Excuse me, I can't see my table of contents from this vantage point at all. So I'm going to use my search feature. Oops. Ever changing. So when it works. Okay. So we have 3 online establishing financial literacy classes. And so these are different from the financial literacy class, excuse me, I use the same word there. Establishing financial independence, online building and protecting personal wealth, and online consumer in the world of finance. These get pretty high level math-wise. Mr. Owens over there nodding his head, yes, we did count them as math credits because, and we said integrated math too, or concurrently enroll if you're a strong math student, because you're going to work out your math skills in a real world kind of way, dealing with personal finances. So we're excited to offer this. We'll see how it goes with our students and if they enjoy it. Again, going back to student interest, point number one there, we don't know until we try, but the courses look amazing. So we're very excited about them. If you go back up just a little bit, we've got a AAA. This is a class with Pikes Peak State College. And for those of you that Pikes Peak Community College is working on moving to Pikes Peak State College, they've renumbered their entire system and said, just jump on board. And so that's what we have done. Oops. So this is a new class as well to us. And so any grade can take it, but it is a higher level. Some schools just offer the AAA that's very basic and it's a pass-fail class. And so that's not this class. This is a 3-credit Pikes Peak State College and course, and it really jumps into basically those habits of success that we keep working with our students all the time, but it's at a college level. It has to be taught by a teacher with a master's degree. And so that's a new class we're excited to get going this year. If there are any questions about the new courses that you want to see?
David, let's start with you. Do you have any questions?
Well, I do. I was surprised, pleasantly surprised to hear we have 425 classes. Are those online offerings, or is that the total number of classes that we have? Can you explain that? I must have missed something.
425 is the number of classes that we are actively tracking on with standards and grades and courses. I'm sorry, yes. And 140 of those are online.
That's amazing. And can you tell how many students, what percentage of our students do you know take advantage of the online classes rather than, or is it in place of teacher-taught classes inside of our school?
We have both.
Can you explain that for me?
Absolutely. So some of our classes, like biology, for instance, is taught online and it's taught in person. We have gone through all of our online courses and aligned them to our standards. And so we've removed lessons because Edgenuity is the provider that we use. It's like a textbook. And so they put everything out there. And so the teacher's job is to go through and decide on the critical lessons. And we use our state standards and our critical concepts to decide what lessons need to be in there so they align closely to the classes that we teach in person. Then we also have another list. I'm sorry, I don't have the number for you. I'm going to guess right around 70 classes or so that are only taught online. So for example, like the three online financial classes I just mentioned, they're not offered in person at the high school. So this allows us to offer things like German and Latin and American Sign Language when we don't have a teacher for those classes.
How many kids do you think, if by senior year, would you guess that 90% of the kids have taken at least one fully online class?
That's probably accurate.
Combination of, like, a kid will fill their schedule like, I'm going to go to a few classes here, then I'll be in the blended learning room for German, and then I'm going to go to madrigals, and then I'm going to go. So it's a combination of all of those things.
Absolutely. And it's really important that the students experience a full online experience because many college classes, even if you go to UCCS or CU or whatever, you're going to take a couple of online only classes, and students just have to learn how to function in that environment. And even in the workforce, many of the modules are done. Like if you go work at Panera Bread or Starbucks, all of these companies have online modules that a employee needs to work through for a length of time before he's able to have a job. And so really learning that environment is so important. And David, you asked about the number of seats. Last year we had 600 seats taken up. And some students take 3 classes, some only take 1, some take all 8. And so 600 was our number from last year.
That's amazing. It truly is amazing that we offer that. The longer I have worked with the school, like I said before, I am impressed.
Thank you.
Karen, I do have another question. Tell me about what we have currently, like for a when I was in high school, you called it a vocational school,
Yes.
where I know that we have a fabulous welding program. Can you tell me about any of the hands-on trades, like Colorado Home Builders Association type things like that? What do we have for those kids that want to go into one of the trades?
Sure. We have 5 different CTE pathways, and they are listed in the handbook here. I'm trying to view them from this vantage point here. Career and technical education section. And if there's a link to the career pathways, so if you jump out to this, these are state-approved certification. And so digital media is one, hospitality and food production, welding technology, cybersecurity, and design arts and printing technology. If you scroll down further in the document, you'll see the classes that you actually need to take to proceed in the pathway. All of these lead to certifications of some kind or another that are recognized by the industry.
Thank you very much, Karen. I'm glad that you oversee that. I know you're doing a great job, and thank you. That's all I have for questions.
Does anybody else have questions?
No, I went through it last night and yesterday and just, looked at all the work you guys have been doing and putting into it. But I really do appreciate you highlighting the new courses, and I'm excited to hear about those.
Thank you. We do have more information coming soon for this fall, and that's that request for more transparency. Our syllabi will be linked in these different classes that we're offering. I do also want to note that not every class runs every year, and that sometimes is a sticking point for parents. But things like English literature and English language, we alternate every other year. Same with AP Physics 1 and AP Physics 2. That way you have a class of 20 as opposed to a class of 8 to 10 students. So that's really important.
I did have a couple questions. So what is y'all's timeline going into a school year where you're like, okay, we have to decide which courses we're going to be offering, which are the new ones, which ones are being taken off?
December. We have to have our plan going by December, and then January is where we really work on this course description guide and flesh the things out. And yes, it's a big process. We need students to.
Have you guys been sitting on this since January?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm excited to hear about the syllabi being posted. Is there anything that we have online that allows our parents or our students to, when they're figuring out which courses they want to take and I guess which ones they have to take, does it say like who teaches the course?
That will be coming in the syllabus.
Oh.
And so you'll get some information there, but that's also a changing mark. I mean, just yesterday, we had 3 schedule changes that happened. Like it was AP Literature, for instance. We had 42 students sign up. We need to make 2 sections of it. So we had to close down a class details, but some of those details do change.
Okay.
Last minute. So.
I did want to ask you on this one, there's a class at the very bottom here that's being piloted in the Panther Academy.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that one?
Absolutely. If you're not familiar with Panther Academy, it's for some exceptional students that just have not functioned well in the high school. Many times they've been suspended. They're struggling. They don't finish their work. They're not coming to school. They need a different environment to learn in. And actually, Panther Academy is right behind these walls, basically. And so we have around 20 students or so. Their day is a little different. They're usually here 9 to 2. It's much more structured. And so one of the reasons many students are there is sometimes they lack some of those social emotional pieces, like how to deal with a conflict and respond appropriately. And so it might be a student that escalates really fast. If you say a word, he just gets really upset in the general environment. And we need to teach these skills because the students don't have them. And so a lot of it is just how to deregulate or how to regulate yourself when you get dysregulated, how to calm down, how to manage your stress and anxiety, and how to work with another person to resolve a conflict. Things like, what is alcoholism? Drug use? How are you caring for your body? Are you getting enough sleep? Sometimes students, well, many of us have teenagers, and if you don't put in limits on their cell phone, they will be with it all night long. And sometimes there's skills that we need to teach students in order to be able to be functioning members of society. Because our hope is that they would graduate from the high school and be able to go on and have into functioning lives and not end up in a place that they have a lot less choices.
What grades are at the Panther Academy?
Middle school and high school, typically mostly high school.
And then I guess one of my questions about the online courses is who teaches those?
So the online courses are facilitated by our teachers, but really the design of them is that the student is learning from videos and resources in the online Edgenuity program. And so the teacher acts much more like a coach and, sets tests and proctors exams and talks with students about what they're learning, but the learning is done online. It's very different from the platforms like Google Classroom and Summit Learning Platform that we use in class, because those have to have a teacher, and the teacher's giving instruction the entire time.
Well, I mean, where do we get the online classes from then? Is it one vendor?
Well, at the high school, it's one vendor called Edgenuity.
Okay. And
And it's
so,
nationally, it's used all over the country. It's been vetted by all the states and linked to different state standards and all that.
and is that like a yearly contract or multi-year contract? How's that work?
Right now, we're in a multi-year.
We're multi-year.
Yeah,
Okay.
because readopting that is quite a process. And what the high school actually has done is we adopted Edgenuity because it had some flexibility of tailoring content. So if we find that there's content that doesn't align with, like Karen said, we've aligned what's happening in our school with what's happening on the online. So if that content doesn't align, we're able with Edgenuity to take it out. And so it allows us, and the high school has done a lot of work. They've pulled teachers and gone through and really looked at that content and tailored it to match all of those things that are in our schools to match in the online experience. So we've looked at every single lesson, every single piece of content that's in there, and made sure that it aligns with the school district's critical concepts and standards, philosophy.
Okay.
So, and then we'll have a teacher that is oversees those classes. So oversees those, say, 30 students, but they're in 11 different classes. And so that teacher, a certified English teacher, is grading the English essays that come in and giving feedback to the students. And that's our teacher in most cases.
So do we have any online classes where a student taking it does not interact with one of our own in-person teachers?
We do several of our world languages. So German, American Sign Language, Latin, and Chinese.
Okay.
But what we have is we have a coordinator here in the district.
Yes.
So Diana Roberts is in our blended learning room. And so she is almost like the coach for those classes.
Mhm.
So she's watching their progress. She's working with those kids. So she's kind of like an advocate that's helping those kids navigate those courses.
And then we work with the teacher on the other side. So last year I worked a lot with the online French teacher who is not employed in our district. She lives in one of the East Coast states. And so I talked with her several times as the building curriculum person with her, making sure that they were following our policies.
And so, why is it that online courses are not competing with our own teachers and making them less necessary? If you could just have an online course do it and you don't necessarily need a teacher for that course, does that undercut our own teachers in any way?
Well, here's the thing, is that with remote learning that we experienced during COVID, students really decided whether they liked online learning or not. And some thrive in that environment, and absolutely they want to keep doing that. Most say they want to be back in the classroom with the teacher, and they really need that teacher interaction. One of the reasons we got rid of our AP courses, our online AP courses, was because learning takes place in community. And that dialogue, you can read a novel or you can read a research study, but unless you have somebody to talk through it with and process and debate with, you don't really understand it at a very deep level. And so in-person learning is still the strongly preferred method. But there are some low-level classes that can be done online just fine.
Okay.
So,
I think online too gives us the opportunity to offer German and
Mhm.
Chinese and Spanish. And so even a large school can't offer 5 languages
Right.
or the list of, these building and protecting personal wealth in high school, So we're able to offer some really unique classes with the online for those 1 or 2 kids that are like, this is where I'm going, I know it, and they can then excel into that career.
Great, okay.
And to build upon what has already been spoken of, when they're going to college, they're going to have blended classes. They're going to have some online classes and they're going to have some in person. I know I experienced that, and I'm sure this is just going to prepare them for that next step, if they can take that next step.
absolutely, it's really important. And that is our goal, is to build those habits of success for all the students so that they can thrive in any environment. I do want to call, this might be a little bit of a spoiler alert on Tina's presentation, but I do want to call out something in the IMB, which Tina's going to be talking about in just a minute. But we do have a statement in all of our courses that this course will explore issues that may create strong feelings among members of our community. Please see WPSD School Board Policy, IMB, and IMBR to understand your rights and responsibilities. That's on about 10 courses. They're all at the junior and senior level. Quite frankly, our students many of them are going off to college, and they need to have that discourse and debate and bring up critical issues and current events, and like be able to not spar necessarily, but debate in a friendly environment that's protected. And so that's really an important part of a high school education. So we did call those out for parents. We will be adding the syllabus there this fall.
Karen, will we be getting a briefing like this for our middle school courses in the near future as well?
I believe so. I think that's part of the reason that I have this new job.
All right, thanks.
One more question, with the syllabus, what will that all entail in those? What will be, will it have like assignments, or just sort of will be vague, or?
Let me jump to one real quick for you.
Okay.
I do have 2 in there, and forget the format, we're not quite locked in yet. We have all of our teacher leaders meeting together tomorrow to decide on format, but we were playing around with this a little bit. And so here's US history that actually Mr. Brown put together for us. There's course information over here, and a lot of this is directly from the course handbook, because sometimes parents will have a paper copy and they need to know those details as well. Some details about the course. The contacts for the teachers up top, very important. At the high school, we run on credits. And so our course numbers, just like at a college, are critically important, because when students need to go to summer school, for instance, or they're out sick for 3 weeks or something like that, we need to know how to code those standards correctly. Let's see, we've got full transparency. So something that with the Summit platform, all the curriculum is right there. A parent just needs to sit down and ask his student, hover over things, and you can open up every single link that's listed. And in our standards-based grading classes, it's all in Google Classroom. And so you just need to sit there and ask your student, because every resource is listed. Materials they need for class specifically, and then the course of study. As a mom with 4 kids, 4 teenagers, it gets pretty tricky keeping track of all their due dates. And granted, they do that on their own more as they advance through high school. But we want to put some markers in there for parents to know, like week 1 and 3, this is 1 through 3. This is pretty much what you're working on. This is the unit, the products you're going to be expected to do, the power focus area that aligns, and then various resources. So you'll see, was Andrew Carnegie a hero? And that's a DBQ, stands for document-based question. It's a whole packet, and they're nationally recognized as well with DBQs. So anyway, this is what's coming for all the courses. We're working on, it's a long, long list.
So this is something new that we've never done before, is that right?
We've had syllabi in all of our classes, and they've been posted in the Google Classroom, but we've not linked them here in this course catalog, and we've not had a uniform format. So those 2 pieces are new.
Well, it's just tremendous. I mean, it's an incredible step towards increasing transparency to the community. Fantastic.
Thank you. There will be information about grade calculation. I know that's very important to families. And then information about things that they're going to see in the various platforms. We do have 9 platforms at the high school, just to put that little bug out there. this is the world. How many of you pay bills? How many platforms do you have for all of your personal bills? I have like 15 or 20, I'm sure. Different logins, all that stuff. This is our world. And so the students are adjusting to it. Tips on how to proceed if you're struggling in a specific class. And they're different for different grade levels and with different courses. Retake and redo policy, what you're gonna see. And then some class rules. Cell phone policy, we're working on this one. And just more information about the class. So hopefully will really help parents do a great job with partnering with their student to succeed. Is that good?
And for the record, Karen came on board. Yeah,
8 days ago?
Yeah, she's kind of knocked this out and has both high school and middle school knocking this out, and very impressive,
We're
very
going.
impressive.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, unless David has any other questions based on all that, if we could release Ms. Hamlow.
Thank you, Karen.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so next on the agenda, I believe we're going to hear from our Chief Academic Officer and Co-Interim Superintendent, Tina Cassens, about the Teaching About Controversial Issues Policy Update.
Did you want to do quickly the subcommittee?
Oh, I skipped
update?
over it, didn't I? Okay, sorry. You know what, that's a good one because that one's going to be really short. There really is no update. I know that myself and Ms. Kimbrell, with the assistance of Ms. Haven, we all tried to get together and we just couldn't make the schedules and the calendars work. I understand you guys are a little busy lately on something. I had a murder trial that started last week, and actually we just got to the jury right before this evening. So there's no new update. All right, thanks.
Other than that, we hope to meet later, when time allows.
Yes.
I am going to walk over here. I'm going to take a different stand and assume the presentation spot to give an update on, get that going, to give an update on the policies that we started revising last year, the controversial issues policy and the accompanying regulations that went into place. We waited to put those into place since they were rolling out for the 22-23 school year. So I want to give you an update on those final policy revisions, a new section that was added to our Student and Family Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, and then some initial implementation steps, which Karen kind of gave a little sneak peek of some things that will start rolling out. For the board, you have the actual text of the policies. They are actually also live on our website. So anyone that wanted to search, you could visit our website and our board policies and find these. Additionally, oh, not yet. Okay. I was waiting till after tonight.
Okay, they will be there tomorrow morning, so don't do it tonight. And then what I put on the slides here is just kind of a summary, because I'm not going to read through these for everyone. So the slides will have kind of the essence of where those policies went. For a reminder of last year, because it felt like 100 years ago, we rolled into this policy. We took a stab at a draft of it, brought it back to the board for some feedback, and then took that policy out to all of our school accountability committees. So we talked with all school accountability committees in all 5 schools. We talked with all teachers in all 5 schools, and we also met with high school students. So we got feedback from our high school students on the policies too. So from all of that feedback, we put together, and it really was tweaks. We put together some tweaks to this policy, and then have been working over the summer and kind of at the last minute here to get some things rolled out as we step into the new year. So that's kind of a little bit of the background. So I am going to start with the IMB policy. IMB is the file name. The file is called Teaching About Controversial Issues and the Use of Controversial Materials. And we did have this policy previously, but what we did is look to put a little more details to this policy based on feedback that came to us. So some of the essence of this policy is we defined a controversial issue. So it's a problem, subject, or question about which there are significant differences of opinion. These issues have no easy resolution, and discussion may create strong feelings among our community. We also gave a few examples. So explicit sexual conduct, graphic violence, profanity, drug use, or materials that may be polarizing along racial, ethnic, or religious lines. So we put that information into the policy to define that. We also went further to state that teachers may use controversial learning materials and discuss those if they contribute to the attainment of course objectives. So it has to be related to the district-approved curriculum and the critical concepts. So it has to be content that is part of our approved standards. It also has to have the focus of student learning, and it needs to foster an atmosphere in which students feel free to form and express their own point of view. So we added some language about that. We went further to state that approval is required prior to the use of any controversial materials that are not included in the district-approved resources.
Miles?
Did we lose
Is he
Dave?
in the room? Yeah, evidently he's not on the line. Thank you for saying that so quietly, and I'm like, Miles!
Did we lose you,
Tina.
Mr. Resterholt?
Evidently we lost him.
Should I wait?
Is he hasn't.
Yeah.
You still have a quorum.
Do you want Tina to wait, Vice President?
No, I think we can keep going.
Okay, he might have texted me over there.
Yeah, he sent me a text, so.
Okay.
I'm in airplane mode, so.
We also went on to state that really in working with this policy, it is a partnership with the principal. And so if teachers are concerned, I know there was a lot of question of, I'm not sure if this is a controversial issue, that really this is one of those, like, if you have any questions, you just need to be in partnership with your principal to be talking about whether or not that might be a controversial issue or resource. And that in that partnership, we'll have some notifications of parents, and you'll see some that are embedded naturally, but also if things come up unexpectedly, some guidelines about that, because we know that we have children in class and sometimes they'll say things and it's like, oh, and so things just pop into class. And so working with our teachers, and we do a lot of training around how that's handled in elementary versus middle school versus high school. And then the idea that by the end of the day, you would be down and talking with the principal or administrator to say, this is what happened in my class, what do we need to do? And that might be a case where we would shoot out a quick message to parents saying, hey, in class today, this topic came up. Here's what we talked about. This would be a great discussion at home tonight. So just making sure that if things pop up, that we're notifying parents that those come up in class. This policy further goes on to talk about that when we consider controversial issues, and you heard Karen say that we have some high school classes for juniors and seniors. So we look at the scope and depth of the issue, but we also look at students' maturity, their background, and their experience. The kinds of things that are in classrooms for our 17 and 18-year-olds are very different from our 10 and 11-year-olds. They're very different than our 5 and 6-year-olds. So that plays into looking at controversial issues. And as always, and you're going to see this when I talk about the regulations, parents always have the right to request an alternative assignment and or an exemption. And I'm going to talk in a minute about what's the difference between those. But you're going to see in all of our handout, all of our policies, parents have the rights to request that alternative assignment, and we'll work with our teachers to design that for students. So before I take questions about the policy, I might go ahead and talk about the regulation because it provides further detail. The policy is very high level. What we found is there were a lot of questions and interpretation to the policy, and so we designed an attached regulation that is called IMBR, and it really provides interpretation of the policy we just talked about and talks about the responsibilities of students, teachers, administration, and parents and guardians. So for the board, you have also a copy of that policy. This policy is brand new. It did not exist last year, so IMBR is a completely new policy. So for students, the language in this policy talks about that we want our students to be willing to examine their own point of view and make an effort to understand the reasons for differing point of views. And we start that even little. Like sometimes people have different opinions than you. And so them understanding that sometimes we don't all agree on things. And then we want them to be able to recognize that people may differ without malice, without emotional outbursts, without calling into question someone's character integrity, and that we have those differing opinions. So we would like them to be able to recognize that there's a respectful way to do that. And so that's really the goal of when we look at controversial issues. And that's what we ask students to look at. For our teachers, you'll see that this list is really long. This regulation relies a lot on the teacher. And we're going to be doing training next week with this policy. So for our teachers, they have to seek approval if materials are not on the district's approved resources. So the materials used in class have to be on the district's approved resources, which match our standards. They have to notify administration if controversial issues arise unexpectedly. So that's that conversation with the principal, and we have that happen. Katie's going, yes, we talked about that. They need to distribute information to students and parents and guardians at the start of the semester or at the start of the quarter, outlining topics of study. So this is that new thing that Karen showed you. So they will be distributing what looks like a syllabus for our middle school and high school that outlines all of the areas we'll be studying, the resources we'll be using. So that will be available to parents. When we get to the end here, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we're doing that and some things that are perplexing us with that. At the elementary, that will be by quarter. So it will have an outline for each quarter as to the topics of study for parents. And in this policy, it states that that will be sent electronically. But later you'll see that a parent responsibility is if electronic communication doesn't work for you, you can call and request that those communications come home in hard copy. And so we can send paper copies home. And as Karen showed, the high school ones, and I would guess the middle school soon, will all be available online. So a parent really could go to our website and click in and see the syllabus from the website. Our teachers are responsible for ensuring balanced presentation of topics. Our teachers are responsible for instructing on skills that are required for analysis of complex issues. That's a skill we learn. So we learn how to engage in those discussions. Our teachers are responsible for fostering classroom environments in which students feel comfortable developing and expressing their own points of view. So that's a safe place to engage in that conversation. And our teachers are responsible for offering an equivalent alternate learning activity or demonstration of learning at the request of a student or a student's parents or guardian. The policy does go on to say if a student requests that, we will confirm that with the parents. But sometimes we have students that will request an alternate assignment. And so we'll just give a call to parents and say, your student has requested instead of this, that we would do something different, and we'll confirm that with parents. For administration, the policy talks about the administration will notify and train staff. So we have this on our professional development next week. They will consult and partner with teachers, support and protect teachers from undue and unjustified criticism, and identify and denote high school courses which inherently address controversial issues. So you saw that in the catalog. And those, for the most part, or in all parts, are electives or have an alternative class. So if that's something that a family is concerned about, they would not sign up for those classes or sign up for the alternative class that does not have the controversial issues inherently in the classroom. For parents or guardians, the expectation is that parents and guardians review the electronic communication or request hard copies if they need a hard copy of that, and that they seek additional information from school personnel. So if they're uncertain about something, give a call, an email, contact the teacher so that you can clarify any questions you may have. We ask that parents or guardians inform teachers in writing of their decisions. So sending off an email or a letter to the teacher. Inform school personnel when they have a concern. And recognize that concerns and questions are most quickly addressed at the level closest to the original concern. So if it's a classroom concern, usually the teacher has the best information to answer that concern. So we ask that parents start at that level so that they can quickly get information about their concern. And then finally, this regulation has outlined that there are procedures and timelines if there's a complaint. So it lists the policies that describe the process for processing complaints about public complaints, complaints about instructional resources, or complaints about teaching methods, activities, or presentations. So I might stop there for a second and see if there are any clarifications I can provide.
I do have one on the administration slide, kind of sets out like the administration's responsibilities or obligations. And does the administration have any obligations, like for instance, that correspond with their obligation to support and protect teachers from undue and unjustified criticism? Any obligations to our parents of, I guess, criticism that is due and just? What's the flip side here?
Well, obviously, if it's due and justified, probably we have a different situation of insubordination or not following the district approved curriculum, which is a whole different process. So if we have a situation of insubordination or not following the district approved curriculum, that becomes a personnel issue. And so that's not part of this policy. So we would act according to personnel guidelines with investigations, letters. Also, do you want to address all this, the steps, or we can come back?
Well, and I guess I'm not trying to presume that there's a personnel problem or something, but I imagine, and this probably goes to right what you were about to get to, Ms. Castens, with the process and whatnot, which is, does the administration, when a complaint or something comes in, I assume the administration has some sort of duty to promptly or reasonably take a look at it?
Yep.
So that's probably what, maybe you can just fill me in on that.
Yep. So anytime we get a call, it would be going immediately to figure out what's going on, what was taught, what are we looking at. The great thing, like Karen said, with our content in both the Summit Learning Platform and Google Classroom and our various other 9 platforms, a lot of times a principal can just pull that up, sitting right there as they're talking to parents, and see exactly what the content was in class. And so at least gives some perspective, but then it would be a follow-up conversation of, so where did this go yesterday, or what happened, or they would go and investigate kind of what happened in class. And often we might bring the teacher in to meet with the parents so that we could directly, again, the most credible source is back with the teacher because they were there and kind of knew what happened.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like the administration's commitment to our families is that they're going to make sure that the policy is followed fairly and even-handedly, and that they're going to work with our teachers and the parents to address any sort of concerns that arise if something's legitimate.
Well said.
Okay, great. All right, thanks. Sorry.
That was my answer. The additional piece that was added to our student family rights and responsibilities handbook, which is a handbook that all parents are asked to review during registration, but we will also look to kind of propagate this down into our school handbooks, is a section that talks about opt-in, opt-out exemption rights, because that seems to be a place where we throw around a lot of different terms. The ultimate thing is that a parent sees what is being taught through all this information we just saw, and they can always call and say, whether it's opt-in, opt-out, or exemption, I don't want my kid to do that. And so we have procedures that make that happen. So really, if a parent's concerned, really their thing is to call the teacher and say, I don't want my student to participate in this piece of the learning, and we would work with them to figure out what that looks like. So our opt-in, opt-out exemption rights, if you kind of look at an overview, what they are is they are manners that we accommodate a parent's rights to be involved in the education of their children. And they also outline that we expect the use of consistent standards in all district schools. As we work, we're working towards more consistency. So remembering we're not perfect right outside the gun. So we're going to be working hard with that. Students, also states students will not intentionally be made to feel different, nor parents choosing to exercise their right to opt in, opt out, or request exemption be criticized for their decision. And it further emphasizes that Woodland Park School District places high value on maintaining strong partnerships with parents. So this is an introduction to this, this section of our handbook. It then defines opt-in. So opt-in means that we must get express written permission from a parent for a student to participate in a program, event, or activity. So I have some examples here that are examples, these are like clear examples. So examples include sex education. Sex education requires opt-in. If a parent does not sign the permission form that goes home with the content to be taught, then a student is not in that course or that lesson or program. So a parent has to sign. Another one is athletics. Kids can't just walk out on the basketball court and be like, I'm on the team. A parent has to sign and say that their student may participate in athletics. Another one that's clear is field trips. So, and we get this a lot. This is where you see our front office full of students on the day of the field trip when they do not have their signed permission that we've asked for 2 weeks and written to parents about. And we're frantically calling home and saying, Mom, you have to come to the school and sign my permission slip. Because they can't go if they don't have, it's opt-in. And actually we see that for sex ed sometimes too, and for athletics. So a lot of our opt-in, if it's not signed, the students are not doing that program, event, or activity. So as you heard, sometimes that causes a lot of last minute, and a lot of my staff out here are going, yes, we've lived that with student signing. So that is opt-in. And so those are in very particular cases. You will sometimes see things too, like a certain unit a teacher might be doing or reading a certain book that they make it opt-in. So they send home a letter to parents and it is an opt-in. So this is not an exclusive list. Other times things come up that parents will sign that they have to opt into. Opt-out is where we assume parent consent if the parent doesn't give us a call. So if they don't notify us and we've said, here's what's happening, so if we don't hear back, we're assuming we're good to go. So notices include the course syllabus. It includes teacher notifications. So sometimes there's a letter that'll go home that'll say, this is what we're doing. If we don't hear from you, we're going to assume that's where we're going. And also team and school newsletters. So sometimes this is things like, we gave an example last year, 6th grade was starting a new book that talked about some bullying relationships. And so the teacher sent home a letter to the parents and sent it in the newsletter, sent it with the kids saying, this is our new unit study. This is the book that we'll be engaging in. Please give me a call if you'd like to discuss this further or look at an alternate book. So that went home to all the parents. Last year that happened, I think twice in the middle school, 6th and 8th grade. And in both situations, we had a call from one 6th grade parent and one 8th grade parent, just seeking more information, but nobody actually opted out of the book. So, but it does give parents that information and says, even though sometimes a syllabus goes home, it might be more detail about something coming up. And so the parents can call in and opt out. The third one is an exemption. And this is where a parent has a written request to exclude a student from participation in a program, event, or activity. Exemptions note exclude from the required instruction. However, if it is a graduation requirement, we look for an alternative equivalent demonstration of learning to meet that graduation requirement. But sometimes this is something like sex ed where someone says this is counter to our beliefs. And so we are asking to be exempted from that program. So you're opting out, but also you're asking that there's no alternative assignment that teaches that same content. So you're saying we're taking care of that on our own. Sometimes we have that with some of our PE standards. If we have students with certain health or physical impairments and we're unable to have an alternative demonstration of learning, or the parents wish to use an exemption, they'll ask for an exemption from those standards. Does that make sense? So the final thing that's in the rights and responsibilities that the board has is then I have taken, like, we took each one of these standards and we provided, because if you read the board policies, sometimes it's like 3 pages long. And so what is provided in this rights and responsibility handbook is it takes the policy and tries to summarize it in about a paragraph. So it gives the essence of the health and sex education policy. It gives the essence of field trips. It gives the essence of IMB and IMBR. So it gives the essence of each of these so a parent could quickly understand their rights within each of these policies. In addition, the handbook has the full policy. So if they continue reading down the handbook, they would have the full policy to read as well as it's posted online. So our next steps, we are updating all publications, so the handbooks. We are drafting Common Core syllabus. So middle school and high school, elementary is also looking. Theirs is not quite, it just has mostly content, so a lot of the content. We are training staff and providing professional time for staff to complete the syllabus. We are fine-tuning protocols, as Karen pointed out. When you get to high school, kids, elementary will send home one notification. Here's your homeroom teacher, and here's what they'll learn in math, science, social studies, and English. And then in PE, we can attach those. So an elementary parent gets one email for all the classes. Middle school gets one email because they're all on the same team. They all have the same 4 core classes and enrichments. When you get to high school, it's every iteration every year. So that means for parents, and that's where we met with the parent group yesterday at the high school, for parents of a high school student, they would get 8 emails talking about the syllabus for their kid's schedule. Karen has 3 high school kids, so she would get 24 emails outlining the syllabus in addition to the school newsletter and the sports newsletter and the marching band newsletter. So we're trying to figure out, is posted online sufficient that we would direct parents to the online version? So that's what we're trying to figure out. And probably the answer is yes, I'll take 24 emails. I don't want 24 emails. So that's where we're trying to figure out how at the high school level do we have notification that pushes out to parents. So we're still kind of working that out, and we'll have that resolved by the first day of school. And then we're developing any applicable forms, because what we realized was, wouldn't it be nice if there was just a form in the board policies that a parent filled out to opt out? And so they could just click on it, fill it in, sign their name, and send it off. So we're trying to get more forms that allow for electronic communication. Even if we start to look at things like DocuSign, so that we also aren't in the office on the day before the field trip getting lots of signatures, that people could use some DocuSign. So we're trying to bring those forms into the 21st century. So what questions do you have for me?
David, do you have any questions for Ms. Cassens? Gosh, don't tell me we've lost him again.
Are you on there, David?
Okay.
I don't have any questions at this time. The questions I did have, you actually went through and answered them because this is a very detailed presentation, so thank you. And I know it's really a lot of work for the staff, Ms. Karen Hamlow as well, as just putting it all online. And I would encourage parents that this is the time now, this year, to get online, start looking at the syllabus, looking at what your kids are learning, and here's the transparent, because the administration is doing a lot of work. This is not easy, but I would encourage, if you guys do look at DocuSign, because that does help just with parents and everything you guys are going through. I was sort of looking at the faces, not to call anyone out, but Mr. Owen, I saw your face laughing about, just having to sign those field trips. And if we can get that more automated, I think that will help not only you guys, the district, but as well as parents, so.
Thank you.
Tina, the opt-in right now, the examples, sex education, athletics, and field trip participation, those are like required by state law, right? That we do opt-in for those? I mean, does that sound right?
Sex ed, yes. Probably athletics, yes. taking kids off campus. My
Okay.
attorney's gonna go, yes.
Okay, so the only opt-ins we're doing are those that it sounds like we're basically required by law to do.
No, because you'll get some random ones, color runs.
What's
The color run at the middle school, they go out, you ought to visit. They go out and run around the track and they have white t-shirts on and we throw color on them. It's their fundraiser. And so for kids to participate in the color run, their parents have to sign a form.
Okay,
So things will come up. Like I said, sometimes we do get a book that we're like, we want to use this. And sometimes we do choose to use the opt-in method if we feel like it might be something that's a little more controversial. So we might say, we typically use opt-out, but on this one, we're going to get all parents to sign that their kids can read this book.
well, and that was, I thought I heard you say we had some books that had been labeled opt-in or whatever. Can we post those somewhere online as well? Like that in the past we've done this, or we would expect that if this book was to be used in a class, that this is an example of a book that would be an opt-in?
Yeah, the hard part is you'd have to put the grade, because like an opt-in in 8th grade might be required in 11th grade, and we wouldn't opt in. We could put some examples. That's the hard part, is once you put example, that you never exhaust the list. The other one that came to mind too is like we've discovered, library books that kids love that have like a rated for 13 and over, but we have middle school kids ages 12, 13, and 14. And so one of the things we've looked at doing with that is having the parents opting into the more mature library. So the idea that I'm going to allow my 13-year-old to looking at some opt-ins there. So the hard part is things just come up as we're moving through activities, and we say, we feel like this is one parent should sign on. So we could put some more examples.
Okay. And then the sex education stuff, what grades are we currently offering something that would fit under that definition to?
So 5th grade, we have not for the last few years. So we kind of had that on a hold a lot because we were with remote learning. That was not a content we wanted to do with remote learning. In 5th grade, we have what we call sex ed. It's, kind of the we call it the girl talk and the boy talk about some of those parts of your body and things like that. So in 5th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade have a sex ed unit that is an opt-in, and then 9th grade health.
Okay, so is the 5th grade component part of a course that the kids are taking, or is it like a special event? Or
It's kind of like a special event taught by our nurses.
So is that something that is on the agenda for this year?
Yes, and we did do the 5th grade last year, and that was an opt-in. Mhm. It's the puberty talk.
Okay.
And parents go, yes.
What was the last thing I had written down? We saw the example of the syllabus, and it kind of is labeling some classes that, this class may feature material that would fit. Do we have that? Do we have any classes in our elementary schools that are going to be hit with that kind of label?
No, that was only high school. So anything, and really it was 11th and 12th grade. Did you get anything at 9th and 10th? No. The only place that we have inherently controversial issues would be 11th and 12th grade. Everything else follows this policy with opt-in, opt-out.
Thank you.
Yep.
With the optional classes that if a parent chose that was not for their, who determines that that other curriculum? Is it at the teacher's level, or?
It's really at the administration and department level. And really what you'll see is that it covers the standards. So it doesn't, sometimes where inherently controversial things come in is when you allow more discussion. So it takes out a lot of those discussion pieces and really becomes content driven. So if you look at like civics, it becomes very much about learning specifically the standards for civics, but it removes more of that, that discourse that can occur in class. Did I address that correctly, Karen?
No current events, essentially.
Thank you.
It's very factual. Mhm.
All right, is there any other questions for Ms. Cassins on this topic? Not hearing any. Kelly, any idea what's happened to our friend, Mr. Ruster Holtz?
He may be asleep.
Yeah, it's 2 hours
I think
later.
he's on Eastern time, so.
Okay, he's been through this.
No, hey.
Of course, right when I'm mocking you.
Kelly woke you up?
Did I?
Yes, I'm on Eastern time now, but I'm not sleeping.
Okay, okay.
All right.
Tina, I understand dance to play so that you're satisfying both state requirements, the requirements of the school, and yet being sensitive and honoring parents' desires. So it's a very difficult thing to do. I understand it's something we need to have to keep adjusting as we go. So the main concern that I hear from parents is that parents' desires are honored. So we have a whole diversity of that, yet we live in a very conservative county. So as long as we keep doing that, I think we will do well. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, so next on the agenda is board executive expectations. This is a presentation where there will be some action afterwards. The board will be asked to accept the presentation. And so, Tina, are you going to lead the way on that one?
Yeah, and it's not really a presentation. I'm just going to kind of read this
All right.
statement.
It's about 20 minutes long though.
Yeah. So, settle in. So this is executive expectation 9, which is the emergency superintendent succession, which we felt was important to put in place as kids and staff are coming back. So in the event that Dell was gone, I would assume decision-making. In the event that I was gone, Dell would assume the full responsibilities of the superintendent. If we are both out of the district or unavailable, then Miles Tuttle, the Executive Director of Technology and Operations, will assume full responsibility, and he is aware and has agreed to this role. In the event that we're not going to all travel together anymore, in the event that Dell, myself, or Miles was not in the district or unavailable, then Mr. Kevin Burr, the high school principal, would assume full responsibility, and he is aware and agreed to serve in this role.
Great. Is there any discussion on this emergency superintendent succession, EE9, as presented by Ms. Cassins? Okay. We don't need to hear anything from attorney or anything? All good?
Kind of turn signal on.
No, I didn't see the draft, but what she represents is fine with me. No.
Great. David, did you have anything you wanted to say on this before I ask for a motion for a vote? All right, I'm not hearing any objection from David. So, do we have a motion to accept EE9 as presented by Ms. Cassins?
Motion to accept EE9.
It has to be one of you two. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, can we have the vote, Ms. Haven?
Yes, Illingworth,
Aye.
Kimbrell, Patterson,
Aye.
Rusterholz.
Okay, the motion carries. Okay, so now we get to move on to our superintendent report. Does that mean that you and Dell both have?
Or tag team if he's
Or
up.
tag team it, yeah. So
Okay.
I get to
Did
go.
you flip a coin or?
We did. I lost. We went 2 out of 3.
I already talked too much.
I just want to start with acknowledging Dr. Pecker earlier. You had mentioned that it was weird sitting on that side of it. It's also weird that changing roles, or I don't get to watch you from this side, and so that was. So I wanted to recognize that. But I do also, before we get started on the other reports, I do want to recognize how much I've appreciated the last 3 or 4 weeks in which we've got to work together with Merit on and your board on some issues that have come up and some questions and things that you try your hardest to think of everything that you possibly can and to put them in a contract, and then they just don't happen. And so I've really appreciated the ability to just sit and talk through that, and look forward to that continued piece. So I want to thank you for that. I don't know if you've heard this before, but we're excited that the school year is starting. Yeah, and so, as Nate mentioned, many staff have been attending various trainings, and more than that, you can watch the staff come in and just working in their rooms and getting prepared, volunteering their time to be with our students in various capacities, learning from each other. We did have our registration for our schools was held yesterday. Very challenging in some places. I don't know if you guys noticed that Kelly's Road was closed. And so accessing Columbine in the middle school was challenging. I do want to point of reference, though, is that the school district did not plan that road closure. So
I was actually going to ask Miles if we had something to do with that. I remember you saying something about cables that had to be buried for the server upgrade.
Yeah, they buried conduit for fiber, but no, we don't take any responsibility.
yeah, it's just a bad timing.
Yeah, and the city's worked really well with us to try and give us as much access as possible to all the crazy stuff going on there. They've done the best they could with circumstances.
So as after registration, then a lot of our staff members are spending their day today and maybe a couple other days over the next couple of weeks reaching out and contacting those unknown families, ones that we think they were supposed to be here, but they didn't contact us or they didn't register or anything like that. Or if they dual registered maybe for Merritt and Woodland Park, it's like, okay, well, I don't know why I said Merritt and Woodland Park, but Merritt and the district. Which one is it? Where are we going with that? So we've got a lot of staff working on that coming up. Another exciting part for us is new staff come tomorrow. They report for the first time tomorrow morning, and so we get to welcome them. There's quite a few, I would say, more than I'm used to. But so we're in the auditorium, and we've got some sessions broke out for your basic orientation. So we're looking forward to that. All staff will be returning on Monday the 15th in some capacity. Usually all week long, it's going to be some sort of training, everything. Are you laughing at me or?
I don't know what he's doing.
Sandwich on anyways, a full week of the training and classroom prep and work. One of the things that happens at the end of next week is our school district open house. And it's held on, I wrote that down here, on the August 19th. And that's Friday, I believe. And so we've staggered those starts. So elementary schools will have their open house from 4 to 6 p.m. And the middle school will have theirs from 5 to 7. And then the high school from 6 to 8. It would be wonderful if you guys wanted to see, some of you wanted to stop by and see what's happening in our open houses.
When is this?
This is on Friday, August 19th.
For all the schools at the same time?
Nope, so-
Elementary, 4 to 6, middle school, 5 to 7, and high school, 6 to 8.
Not that you didn't.
You're reading from something, but.
I just took wrote it down. What Dallas is taking good notes.
Yeah. It's also posted on our website, so if you want to see those hours are there. But we've staggered them so that staff can go. If you're a high school teacher, you have elementary kids, so you get a chance to see those things. But it would be great if you're able to make some time to get over there. It's crazy to think, but fall sports have started in full force at the high school, and I think the middle school is on a rollout. Like football starts next week or this week, and volleyball is the next week. So fall sports are in full swing starting on Monday. Actually, golf started last week, and I know our golf coach was in here, but there he is, over there. So that was last week that he got to get started. But as of 3:00 this afternoon, we had we did have 181 students participating in fall sports. So that's trending upward.
Awesome.
Now, I want to give a little bit of a clarification on that. We're going to have some of it's probably lower than that a little bit because we have some that play multiple sports at the same time. So, but not very many, handful. So great numbers going there. There's an excitement there. Yeah, we're very excited to get the school year started. You know, Nate gave the example of the kindergartners with a heavy backpack, and I got to tell you, I think I'm in my 32nd year in education as a professional, which is, I know, it's long, but every year feels like it's kindergarten to me. Every year you get to this part and it's like, it's something new, it's something different, and we're very excited. Welcoming our new school to our district, welcoming all our new staff, our new students, just kind of a better together. And that's what we're really trying to emphasize, is we're better together.
Del, didn't you go to school here as a kid?
I did. So the first 32 years of my life were in school here. No, I'm just kidding.
Started kindergarten?
I did, yeah. Yep. I started at Gateway. It wasn't Gateway, it was just Woodland Park Elementary. Started kindergarten there, went all the way through the 12th grade. Thought, I've got to get out of Woodland Park, because 18-year-olds, that's what you do. Left, came back, and after being gone for about 7 years, something like that, came back, and now I'm in this role. So I think I mentioned the last time we were here, I think my dad's classroom he taught here, I think was about in this area before they did all the remodels. Somebody who's seen it before might know it, but.
Have they named a wing or an auditorium after you yet?
I think it's a restroom in the back. Back athletic hallway.
Well, I love hearing what you're talking about, the excitement of a new year, and I think it's my first time as a school board director. I guess Sue and Cassie's as well, that we get to be here for the start of a new school year, and that's tremendously exciting. I mean, it makes me think of when I would go back to school, and always there's that excitement and there's that stress. So, can I ask you guys, just indulge me, when you start a new school year, what's kind of your favorite thing that you're looking forward to, and also what's the most stressful part about it?
So in our current roles or previous roles.
Good one, Nell. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like,
I'll leave it open. Well, I think for me, the concern is always, are we prepared for having the kids come in to give them the best experience? That's whether I was a teacher or I was an administrator or whatever. There's always that question, and you go through it 100 times in your mind. Check. We did. And you just don't know. It's that night before the kids show up, and I'm sure the teachers feel that same way. That night before, there's no sleep. You're just so that's the worst part for me, is the no sleep. For me personally, the most exciting part is it truly is. It's like a river. It truly is due every year, right? You never have the same school twice ever.
Mm.
And so for me, being a fly fisherman in a river, that's what I compare it to, is every year is genuinely different.
Mm.
And so that is always exciting to me.
School is a river. I've never heard that before. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have
I'm
something?
gonna learn not to follow Nell.
He's got poetry over here.
I know, mine's not gonna do that. I think the stressful part is these few weeks. It's last week, this week, next week, because it is especially for our teachers, our staff. It's okay, we have to get everything ready, and we have such high ambitions. And so it's amazing what people are trying to tackle. We're going to reinvent everything in 1 week, or we're going to make this happen. So it's fun. It's that stress of trying to get it perfect. And so staff are just the work over these 3 weeks is amazing. And the hard part I know for our staff is that 2 of those 3 weeks, they're not on contract, but they're here already and they're going after it. And so that's the stressful part of okay, what, getting the staff to that point. And the great part is when they start showing up, and it's always the first day. It's the watching the kids come back and they're so excited and getting them in the building. I always say, can we just get to mid-September? Because this is always the kind of all these new things but once we get rolling, come mid-September, it's just fun to walk into buildings and they're in a routine and things are going, and the energy right now is just really high. Going around at registration, just lots of people we're really feeling that. We really maybe are out of COVID and we're into this new, it's that new beginnings and the excitement's really high. So I feel like there's a lot of positive energy.
Well, I think there would be a great reunion element, like some kids and some coworkers that you haven't seen in a little bit, and that must be a lot of fun. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just chewing up the time on us. I would love to hear from Mr. Owen and Mr. Brown on this topic, but I don't want to take up any more official meeting time for the public. So I'll just have to ask you guys afterwards. Sorry. I just think it's really, really interesting. So Del, anything else to add?
Nope, I do not believe so.
Okay, so the only thing on here is the Board of Education report. It's an opportunity for each board member to discuss something that they just want to bring to the attention of the board or the public or what have you.
I'm just overwhelmed with joy and the wow factor and how you work together collectively as a team and independently, and you brought it all together, and I'm so proud to be here sitting with you tonight.
Thank you.
I want to welcome back the students, the staff, the families, the teachers. I know some of the staff has not left all summer, so I do recognize that, so thank you. But I do want to welcome all of the new staff and welcome as well as Merit. This is going to be the first time that we're going to start a new year and see how this goes. Of course, it's going to be perfect from day one. Miles is already set up, so thank you. I'm joking, of course, but and you're talking about the kindergartners with the backpacks, and I was thinking this is the just my welcome. This is the start of the graduating class of 2035, so that's cool to think about. And I know, Tina. I'm sorry. Wow, right? And but no, I'm excited. I'm excited for the reading there, and I will be showing up on Friday, August 19th. So I'm looking forward. So thank you for the invite, and that's all I have for now. And I know there's so much work that's going on, and so I'm just excited to let you guys continue that. We'll meet later. We'll see if you guys need anything from us. Please call. Thank you.
And know that if you go next Friday, maybe let Kelly know your schedule so two of you don't land more than two of you at the same place. Right. Yeah. If you can let Kelly know which school you're headed to, she'll coordinate that.
Great. David, if you can hear us, if you're awake and you're not eating a steak dinner or something.
I was driving.
Do you have anything?
I heard Kathy and now I hear you. It's been very interesting the last hour. So I heard the thank yous and appreciations, and Tina and staff, I do want you to know how much you are appreciated, how much you're valued, and I look forward to working together as a team for our kids and the school. And I know with you and Del at the leadership position, we have a more than capable staff there. And I want to also thank Nate at Owen for the hard work that he's doing with the teachers and representing them. I look forward to this year and working together. So thank you so much for all that you've done and will be doing.
Thank you, David. So it's been a great meeting, guys. Time just flew by, I think. And I thank everybody for their time and their work, just getting ready for this. And in addition to all the work that everybody's doing to make sure that we're going to have a great beginning to our school year. And I'm very pleased to have this meeting welcome Merit Academy to the adventure. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. All right. Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Ready for vote.
All right, Illingworth.
Aye.
Kimbrell.
Aye.
Patterson.
Aye.
Rusterholz.
That was an aye.
I'm hanging up now. Take care. All right, bye.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't bring activities.
You've got 42 kids in the band?
I know.
I tried to ask that.
I tried
I tried to ask that this afternoon. I couldn't find the.
No. Okay, but anyway, it's doubled in size.
Okay.
So I think maybe the September meeting,
Yes.
say, yes, the pride of the park is growing.
Yep, absolutely. I
was
tried to
trying
find
to
that.
I was like, shut up. What you got?
Oh, you should have. You should have. You really should have.
Okay, so
I
I didn't want to
totally,
be rude.
no, it would not have been, I actually went to find, because I had to do this at meetings all day. So I was like, oh. So I actually tried to go find